So I'd like to have you all welcome the author of the moment here, and where his memoir has such a it's so rooted in skateboarding as a culture. Ladies and gentlemen, please clap an awful lot for José Vadi.
It's really just kind of these two nonfiction projects through both essay collections is really just trying to talk about two things I love a lot, which is California. And by way of talking about California, you almost have to talk about skateboarding and surfing and this kind of board sports culture that's permeated, the state and where I grew up in Southern California. And so I felt more agency to write about skateboarding because the culture was kind of giving me agency to do so. So a combination of finding my voice as an essayist, but also within skateboarding culture, there's been bigger democratization kind of movements and more, voices in the room that have encouraged me to, geek out and kind of add my voice to that story. I skated my favorite deck so long that its final abused form was a mangled rocket ship, all deformed, bruised nose and short flattened tail. I rode that baby blue board off sets of stairs and loading docks for months, slid it across curbs and benches, threw it in the bushes to enter places that didn't allow skateboards, returning to find it lying there undisturbed and unwanted by those unfamiliar with its magic potential. It was a shop board sold by my local utility board shop, the store's logo just above the 4 drill marks 2x2 for the back truck's base plate, and the hardware holding it all together. The L in utility was given an Olympic torch treatment. It was probably skinny as hell for the era and my age, less than 8 inches wide and perfect for a 13-year-old. Shop boards were cheaper than pro boards and slightly more expensive than factory blank decks since they were dipped in a single coat of paint and maybe had the shop's logo slapped on somewhere painfully obvious. Growing up, I consistently rode shop boards because of their price point. Big-footed, lanky, and tall, I hit puberty at the same time as I developed my fervent appreciation for skateboarding, with more and more boards snapping upon impact. The girls' skateboards, Guy Mariano pro board with the Italian flag, snapped trying a kickflip down the 5-stair at Laverne's Municipal Water Treatment Building. The Adrian Lopez pro model Zero Skateboards deck with the horseman drawing snapped on a ledge trick 1 week into ownership before I could even chip the board by accident. But it was this sky blue shopboard that felt so proper, so intrinsic to my skateboarding at the time that upgrading to a new board and discarding whatever opportunities the shopboard still held seemed akin to self-harm. We had learned how to coexist for this many weeks, months after all. Why not see how long it would last? Fear of change is both superstition and microcosm, an approach to the tools of our joy that says something about what those joyful dimensions really look and feel like. Skaters approach each trick attempt with muscle memory and a confidence affected by cracks in the sidewalk, sirens on the streets, and fear. With every board, we create a ledger of everything learned and experienced upon it. The more centered the middle board marks, the better the board slides. I liked writing random crap on my stickers as they got shredded, or at my most dreamy, scrawling Carpe Diem in whiteout on the grip tape just above the back truck along the side, as if I would forget to seize the day at age 12, 13, and beyond, let alone for something as addictive as skateboarding. Now I consider why I didn't get a better used deck or save for a clean new version of a toy I used every day. A toy that can travel across time and space, measure how fast my body can adjust to a crack before the takeoff point at the top of some stairs, or muscle through a grind along a worn, chewed concrete ledge. Chipping a board is a natural part of skating. A chip is a small piece of board that breaks off around the nose or tail from the wear and tear of skateboarding. Novice or pro skaters will ride chipped boards, but when you're a kid, chipping your board is kind of a rite of passage. Without disposable income, kids ride boards until they nearly disintegrate, the grip tape all mashed up and mangled along the edges where wood used to be. Filling in the chips keeps the board going as long as possible. It's a symbol of the stubborn dedication to a deck and to a toy as skaters and as adults whose bodies will also reach their inevitable end. But the toy evolves beyond a fad and becomes something more. A compass, a lens, a portal to joy only found by trying and failing along the way. The irony is the older I get, the more I empathize with those chipped boards I had as a kid, hiding marks and blemishes while maintaining the semblance of a skater as an adult, not wanting to be discarded, wanting to still be seen as useful, functional, and skating, bruised and chipped for as long as possible. Yeah, so this is a pretty iconic image. I believe this is Todd Swank just pushing. Um, this is, what year is this? 1987. The push cover. Pretty sure this is Grant Britton did the cover for this. But yeah, an amazingly iconic cover for skateboarding. Another one that jumps to mind is this Thrasher cover. This Thrasher cover is extremely iconic as well. This is 1984. I believe this is Chuck Treese, and this is the first time an African American pro skateboarder was on the cover of Thrasher. I believe this is that issue, which is crazy to hold. B-52, Sims, I mean, these are like iconic skate companies from the 70s into the 80s that are no longer in skateboarding per se. That was 1984, the year I was born. Thrasher started in 1981, San Francisco, California. So these are some of the early issues of Thrasher. Transworld started after that in Southern California, as some would argue as a reaction to Thrasher. But kind of NorCal, SoCal is represented between those two. Here we have the Transworld Photo Annual. So this is like a annual of photos, 1986. So like a best of photography. Let's check out this guy real quick. Big centerfold, pull-out posters is what Transworld was really known for. This is like mid to late 80s, so we're seeing like the transition from vertical skateboarding, half pipes, to taking those things to the street. Well, all the skate parks were closing down, so half pipes like this were becoming a dying breed. They were all getting concentrated to backyards and things of that nature. So as that scene was dying and skaters were still wanting to do stuff, and as skate videos were coming out showing skaters skating the streets, more and more people were skating around their local curbs as much as like skate parks. But again, the skate parks were dying and street skateboarding was taking off in the late 80s. Yeah, and this is like freestyle skateboarding, street plants and things like that that helped influence a lot of the street skateboarding that we see today. Here's another example of freestyle, kind of pogoing and almost dancing on the board, but without this we wouldn't have street skateboarding. Yeah, so a really interesting collection of stuff here. Super rare collection that Amatoria got blessed with.